Let's go.
We're about to begin. I just want you to join with me in, those of you who are raising your own birds have done this at every processing day. Those of you who haven't, think about all the care and planning that went into these birds' lives by Daniel and his son. All the pasture set up, all the equipment set up, all the water placement, fencing, predator control, all the nights when the storms came, they had to go out there and take care of these birds. And I want you to think about eating an amazing meal. Next time you eat chicken, it's going to be amazing. I want you to come back with your mind to think about this and give thanks the way Native people all over the world traditionally do when they take a life. It's a sacred act, and I definitely view it that way, and I encourage you to view it that way. We're going to put the bird in head first and gently extend its neck, which will be its primary sensation, with a knife that's fresh out of the box, sharp. I'm going to make a slit in the side of the throat under the jaw, which will sever the carotid artery and the jugular vein. He'll instantly lose blood pressure, go to sleep, and he won't move until all the blood's gone and rigor mortis sets in. So about the time I'm going to start here in this open chamber, and James, you can get probably behind me if you have enough cable, because they'll want to see this. And then by the time they get around to this side, rigor mortis will set in, and you'll hear some thrashing, and that's why we have this handy cardboard blood shield. So just take a moment to give thanks to these birds, and we'll begin. That's the rigor mortis. They're far from conscious. So I like to leave about 2 minutes. Some people slit both sides of the neck to get a faster bleed out. I don't, because I feel like the first one's a surprise. The second one, they knew something was up and they're going to feel it. So in my mind, I think they don't feel it, and that's the way I like it. But maybe I'm a little Pollyanna about that. So.
This is essentially a halal or a kosher kill. You know, I remember well several years ago when Whole Foods was courting us to put chickens in their store, and they demanded that we gas them prior to slaughter. And I said, well, you know, gassing is very inexact. It doesn't work very well. And they had some animal rights people on their board that demanded that they not be killed this way. And I said, you're telling me that all the thousands of years of Muslim and Jewish, rabbinical and prophetic processing is inhumane? Yes. I said, well, Whole Foods won't get any of my chickens. So there's a lot of misinformation around there from people who did not grow up with this, who are removed from this connection to the necessity of death in order for there to be life. It's a profound spiritual and ecological principle that in order for there to be life, there must be death. In order for things to live, there must be sacrifice. And that should consume each of us, that in order for us to give life to the people around us, we have to sacrifice ourselves sometimes, our wants, our desires, for the benefit of the people we are energizing within our sphere of influence. This has profound, applications in a lot of ways.
Well said.
So we don't electrocute them. The first time we took them to a processor that electrocuted them, we got half the blood out of the birds. If you go to the supermarket and you get all that black around the bones, that's clotted blood that doesn't come out. The beauty of killing them this way is that the autonomic nervous system, think back to your 10th grade biology class, the autonomic nervous system continues to function. So they continue to breathe, the heart continues to function, they're just not conscious. And so that actual organ working actually pushes the blood, it pumps the blood out of the body rather than it actually draining, which is all it can do. And there's a lot of ups and downs in arteries and capillaries, so a lot of drainage doesn't happen if you're just depending on gravity to bring the blood out. Are you with me? So you want those organs to continue to function to actually push the blood right out of them.
Right.
So that's why we don't electrocute or gas.
Just to tell you, 2 minutes, 1 minute, 30 seconds. If you're planning a sequence, one person can be on this end, and then he can cover up a lot of people unless they're Joel Salatin. So, all right, you ready, Joel?
Yep.
Did I see a kick? I really don't want you to get splashed. Okay. So I'm going to put them in so they're head to the middle. And I can stop this machine. That was a pretty big one, Daniel. He's going to go 5 pounds. Now, as I told you, this has a very light motor, but as long as the weight's balanced, it will take these birds in and out.
One bird's almost enough to unbalance it, isn't it?
Yep. We're stuck on something somewhere. Ben? They're a little big. So one thing we found about the rotary basket is that
They were fed non-GMO feed.
yeah. If there's anything hanging out, looks like I'm going to have to nurse it. I'm not sure why it's hanging up. Well, this is a demo. This is live. You see anything hanging up?
It looked like it was not quite level. There it is.
That could be it.
It wasn't quite level.
That could be it. It's very sensitive.
There's a leg holding up right there, sticking out.
It might be enough. Our latest model actually has a bar here, but we lost it in transit. True confessions. So anyway, like I said, it's a live demo. Okay, that feather did not quite release easily yet. We're going to give him a couple more rotations, and I may just have to nurse this, but it's not the end of the world.
That's why you have kids.
Starting to get close. Can you overdo this? Good question. You can ordinarily. On this, I've been told that well, I'm up pretty high now. I was at 158. You notice I have this gizmo to take the temperature. I'm less worried about overdoing it because they're out of the water so much. I think we're ready. Than I am about underdoing it. All right, you got that on. Get on top of that, James, so they can see this. Sorry. Anybody timing it? Beautiful big bird. That wasn't very long.
All right. Now we'll do one real slow. I'll talk you through it. Again, we're going to pull the head off. All right? Just pull the head off. We have sold some of these to falconers. There is a market. If you know a falconer in your area, they use the poultry heads to train falcons. Now, the legs, I don't know if you can get a shot of this, but the key to all cut-ups, and Noah will tell you this when he does the cutting thing after this. You're wanting to cut to the valleys. The valleys show where the joints go. So you don't want to cut on ridges. You want to cut to valleys. If you look here closely, you can see. You can see this valley right here in the foot. If you hit that, you're going to hit that joint every time. Okay? There's the foot. Now.
And there is a foot market.
Yeah. We sell not half of our feet, maybe a third of our feet for Jewish mother soup, gelatin, all sorts of things. And we can thank the Weston A. Price Foundation for creating an awareness and a market for these wonderful parts. And I want to thank Weston A. Price Foundation and the Farm and Consumer Legal Defense Fund, which I hope everybody in this room joins before you leave. Because they are the thin veil between us and this kind of integrity food that's giving us wiggle room and space as farmers and consumers to operate our freedom of choice in food. That's my little plug for it. So the idea here is you get the bird upside down, and then you want to pooch up the tail here I'll use my pointer finger to pooch up the tail. Here's the air sac. You see it? Yeah. Oh, good. Oh, you're doing good. All right. There's the air sac. We're going to cut the air sac out. The
oil sac.
I'm sorry, not the air, the oil gland. Oil gland, getting ahead of myself. We'll flip the bird around. Again, we're going to go to the valley. This indention right here in the front. Move my hand. All right, yeah. See this indention, all right? We're gonna just pinch that skin and just nick it. All right? I'm told by surgeons that this is a lot of the way surgery is done. They actually use a knife, very little. They actually do a lot of tearing and wiggling and noodling in with their hands to pull tissue apart. So you want to be gentle with your knife, okay? And then I'm going to pull it up with this hand, and then I'm going to pull it down with this hand. That's going to expose the crop. Now, this is absolutely the wiggliest, slickest, snottest feeling thing that you can imagine. Again, it's empty because these were taken off of feed in order to have this nice and clean to do. So if they were on feed, this would be all full of feed. You'd have feed up the esophagus. I mean, it's a mess.
How many hours off feed?
How many hours off feed? At least 12.
I always go the night before.
The night before. We always let ours run out around noon the day before the morning we're going to process. So somewhere between 12 and 18 hours. Okay? All right. So because it's so slick, I can't, you see how I can't pinch it here? I'm trying to, here, let's get around. Okay. See, I can't get it because it's slick, you know, it's like afterbirth. It's very tough. So,
Everybody knows what that's like.
yeah. So what I do is kind of use my thumb to curl under it, and pull it down, and then I switch hands, grab it with my left, pull it up, and then I can just poke my thumb through underneath, and that's going to pull the esophagus and the windpipe out of the neck. See the two tubes? Two tubes here. All right. All that does is loosen it. I'm not gonna cut it. The reason I don't want to jerk it out or cut it off is because then that would allow digestive juices in the behind of the crop to then spill out into the cavity. All right. I want to keep all that digestive juice and stuff inside. All right. So all I'm doing is loosening it. Then I'm going to flip it around, and then I'm going to pull up. We call this the bikini cut. I'm going to pull this up because everything between my cut and below the vent is going to be thrown away. Now you can think, well, you know, what difference does that make? Well, it makes a lot of difference. You know, if we're doing 20,000 birds and we lose an ounce of bird, that's 20,000 ounces at 15 cents an ounce is $3,000. Think about it, okay? So I'm going to pull this up to tighten it and then cut real as close as I can to the vent without cutting the vent. And I'm just going to cut enough to see it. Get a little bit of that poop out, all right? And then I'm going to tear it open. I'm not going to cut it up. If I cut it, I'm going to cut the intestines, all right? So I'm going to open it up. Then I'm going to kind of go in on the side. And first thing I'm going to do is pull the fat off the gizzard. You see all this fat? Again, this is 2 ounces of fat. That's 30 cents. Okay? I mean, you got to think that way. It's the little pieces. It's the little things that make the difference between profit and loss. So I'm going to pull that fat off the gizzard. Here's the gizzard right here. All right. Then I'm going to go back in and scoop down. And what I'm trying to do is hook the esophagus around my pointer finger. So here's the crop, there's the there's the esophagus, everything is right there. See, that's the whole digestive system right there. I'm going to roll it over. Here's the heart and the liver, and here's the gallbladder. The gallbladder is embedded in there behind the liver. I'm going to pull that off. I'm just going to pinch the gallbladder off. That rolls the guts into my left hand. Nothing has hit the table. All I've got now is the intestine. So now I'm going to come from the very edge of the intestine on an angle, cut down on one side, pull it over, cut down on the other side, and then cut underneath it. And that's going to take it out. And the thing I want you to notice again is, see these two globules of fat on the pubic bones? The pubic bones are right here around the vent. if you're doing a good job, you'll save this 1 ounce of fat, half an ounce on either side of the pubic bones right here. The fat adds flavor, fat's where it's at, that's the deal, okay? It's also money in your pocket, all right? That's all done. Now, I'll go back in. Lung. They have stubborn windpipes. Windpipe.
You're like Daniel.
Yeah, stubborn. Spray it out. A little slit here, a small slit. Tuck this leg in. Tuck that leg in. And there we have an oven ready.